Welcome to Pivot2Grow, where our philosophy is leap and grow your wings on the way up. Each week, we will bring not only our many years of experience, but also expert guests in many genres. Together, we will give you a blueprint on not only how to construct your new wings, we'll show you how to utilize them. We will do this with laughter, love, tears, compassion, friendship, and understanding. Here we go.
Good morning, Gail.
Good morning, Ilya. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great.
Are you excited about this? This is our first podcast.
It is, and yes, I am excited about it. It's going to be an adventure, so thank you for asking me to join you.
Thank you for agreeing to be on this.
Watch out, world. You've got two crazy women.
I was trying to put it nicely, but yes.
Yes. No, let's be honest.
Exactly. So let's talk about a little bit what we're expecting from this podcast with each other and from our audience and our guests and all the fun stuff that's coming up.
Well, let's start with each other. I don't have any great expectations of you or me necessarily. I think it's a platform for people, entrepreneurs, to let our audience know what they're doing and how they got there. And our original focus, and it probably stayed this a while because it's such a big organization, is we are going to look at people that went through the Canfield training with us. Is our first batch of speakers, if you will. So how they found Jack, what they're doing with the Success Principle training, because what I've noticed is we've got a lot of successful people around us that have gone through that training. And so how they either are just using that or how they've springboarded that, like me and you, to create a new version of themselves. How about you? What do you think?
My vision is similar to yours. I think that Jack's work, Jack Canfield's work, has been amazing. I think that it has helped so many people, including us, that what I see is that we all that went through it, we all have subspecialties. We each have different things that we branched out into, but we also use Jack's principles in everyday living. So my vision is having people come on that have gone through the training, that are working the principles into their subspecialties, or the books that they're writing or the work that they're doing, and that they not only promote what they're doing so that the world sees it, but we're also able to give back to our audience by having audience participation.
I skipped that part. Thanks for including that.
This is why we're together. We help each other.
I know. So, Ilya, what are you doing with the Success Principles, or how are you integrating that into your everyday life and your work?
So, because of the Jack Canfield, if you have not been through the training, it's hard to explain the family. And when you say family, no, we're not a cult, but we do become each other's cheerleaders, and especially the Canfield Foundation. So because I went through the training, Patty Aubrey, who was a co-author of Jack's in the Chicken Soup series, introduced me to some people for help with nonprofits. So utilizing the success principles, helping those individuals with the nonprofits in their dreams of developing nonprofits to assist in local, regional, and even world events. That's what I'm using it. I've also springboarded off into the RIM process. So we'll get into that later on. So that's what I'm up to. What about you?
Well, interestingly enough, I found the Canfield family, if you will, in the midst of our global reset. Some people call it a pandemic. I call it a global reset just because it sounds nicer. And for myself, I have been a minister for 11 years. And so it would have been 10 years when I found the Canfield family. And it gave me an opportunity to look at how I live my life and everything I teach with a really secular, non-religious language with it. And so it opens up a bigger field for you. And through the process, I came to realize that I really want to coach people to be the best versions of themselves. And when I shared that with some of the people at the church that I'm the senior minister at right now, they said, so I thought you really like to speak, which I do. And I speak every single Sunday right now. And I said, I do. And if somebody said, you can only do one of these for the rest of your life, coach people or speak, which would you do? And it would be coach people, knowing that as I step away from pulpit ministry and a community to coach, I can still speak. However, my focus is going to be on coaching. And so I've created a business called Practical Everyday Wisdom. And it really is coaching people, like I said, to be the best version of themselves, to authentically live their life fearlessly, which I think many people, including myself at one time, we get caught up in the comparison. And we always pick people that are more successful than us, and I can't be like them. And what I like to remind people is each and every one of us has our very own gifts and talents, uniquely ours. And so it doesn't matter if you and I are both coaching. It doesn't matter if you and I are both coaching using the success principles. You'll bring Ilya to your business and I'll bring Gail to mine. And then the two of us will come together and do this amazing project together. So yeah, that's what I'm up to. Pardon the train.
Well, we want to keep it real. We want to be our authentic lives. And part of our authentic lives is you have a train. So
Hey, I have many.
what I love is that coaching has evolved. So coaching from 10 years ago is not the same coaching as today. One of the things that I absolutely love about coaching now is that we're bringing forth principles and these are proven things. I call them soft skills that a lot of times either we missed or we're not taught, especially generations, children growing up in the 80s. So 70s children growing up in the 80s, growing up in the 90s. Parents were working, moms were busy trying to hold down, so we didn't have the support systems that we did. And so a lot of those soft skills that may have been passed down were just skipped altogether. So coaching now is not only helping people find their voices and their authentic selves and not what the society and, New York advertising tells us we're supposed to be, but also teaching those skills that will bring them to the next level and make life a little bit easier. So that's what I love about it.
Well, and I know what soft skills are. However, there might be someone listening going, soft skills, what on earth is she talking about? So what are you defining as soft skills that coaching will enable people to awaken to?
All right. So my favorite soft skill is taking responsibility, taking 100%. Boy, I can speak well today. 100% responsibility for what's going on around you. And most people, because of, you can television, reality TV, the information that we get, we can always blame something on somebody else. It's all so easy. I have a bad marriage because, and fill in the blank, but we take responsibility away from ourselves. If we could say, I have a bad marriage and I take 100% responsibility for it. And that gives us our power back. Because if we're taking that responsibility, it's giving us our power back to say, okay, I'm not a victim. I may have played some role in this, and okay, I will tell you out there, because I know some people are jumping up and down going, well, what about the people who were abused, or, okay, we're still taking responsibility. You can be an abused person and still take responsibility, because there may have been signs that you missed. If you take responsibility that there may have been signs that you missed, when you leave that situation or you change that situation, you will now be in a power position to recognize that in the next time around, I will look for these signs. So that's what I mean. That's just one example for me as how I define soft skills. Skills that my father used to have a saying, my dad, who was born in 1914, had a saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That was a rough form of a soft skill that probably was not passed down from generation to generation, because we wanted to make it easier for our children. So we helped kind of pick up those slacks that they had. We didn't tell them, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Instead, here's a loan to get out of debt, honey, for that credit card that you ran up. Here's a loan because we don't want you to have that pain that we had. Here's a job. Let me give you a job because I don't want you to struggle. And I have that ability to do that for you. Where my dad's generation and the way I was raised was, you did the credit card debt, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get a second, third, or fourth job, and that way you'll learn not to do that again. So those are kind of soft skills, examples.
Right. No, they're good examples. Thank you.
And what's your definition?
No, it would be the same. For me, I think, and you read about this and you talk about this, or I have read about this and I certainly talk about it, and sometimes implementing it can be difficult, or for me, just lazy to do it. It's really setting down on paper what you'd like in your life. Call it goal setting, call it vision boarding. There's different ways to do it. I think that along with accepting 100% responsibility for your life is not allowing yourself to let the world happen to you, or let life happen to you, if you will. And the way to really start controlling that is to have an idea of, so what is it I want to accomplish this week, or this day, or within the next hour? You can chunk it down as small as you want. You could make it big. What is it? How much money do I want to earn in 2022? By the end of 2022, how much money do I want? And then you can work that backwards and create the steps to make that goal happen. When we just think about things, we can forget about it. We can get pulled off course. And so it is important to write our goals down. It's important to have pictures around of what that life would look like after I reach that goal. And so to me, that is one of those nuggets, or one of the principles from the Success Principle book, and a soft skill my parents didn't teach me, is to be very clear that not only that's my goal, I can do that. And I was given a really gift by a fellow friend who does affirmations. And she said, sometimes affirmations can be, your subconscious mind can go, no. One of my affirmations is, I am celebrating a fit, firm, flexible, 125-pound body. Now, close, but not at 125 pounds. And so my subconscious mind, I can say that, and I can say that, and yes, I can probably create a new groove around that. But a way to get around my subconscious mind going, no, you don't. You stepped on the scale this morning. That's not what you saw. Is just say, what if? What if I weigh a firm, fit, flexible, 125 pounds. And so just to work, to change your perception of yourself. Because I truly believe, we see the world through the eyes we see from, which means you and I can look at the same tree outside and can see it entirely differently because we're looking at it with our perception. And I say tree because I have a big tree outside my window. But it could be, that's why policemen want 3 or 4 people witnessing a car accident. They want 3 or 4 different people to get, what did you see? Because every person sees something different, because not only did they see it from a different angle, you could have been in a horrific car accident. And when you see a car accident, your reaction to it is going to be different than mine, who has had fender benders, but has never been in a bad accident. So just some food for thought.
Your perception brought back one of my favorite things I've ever seen. This is especially for women, was our perception of what we look like. So there was this psychology study that they did, that they took women and put them into leotards and put them behind a screen, and just all they could they took pictures, and they were silhouettes. And then they took these pictures and they mixed them up so that if you were standing next to somebody and you're a third one in, if you looked at the third one in, you wouldn't go, oh, that's me. They mixed them up, and then they had a lineup done, and I believe it was 50 or 60 different body types, and they had each individual woman pick out her body type. And I don't remember the statistics, but the majority of women picked out women who were larger size than they actually were. So yeah, our perceptions of what we look like, what we should look like, is one of those big perceptions, I think, in our society that we all share.
Exactly.
And affirmations, one of the things that I got from training, somebody said into training for me, was affirmations are wonderful as long as you're taking action on those affirmations, because the majority of people will put out an affirmation and then they give it to the universe or give it to God or give it to whomever out there, and they expect it to come like, a magic wand's going to be waved, here you go. And so they get, well, that didn't work. This stuff doesn't work. We're not trying to give everybody a magical pill, a wand, a formula. We're giving you things that you can take action on that do work if you put in the work.
Yeah, it works if you work it, as a 12-step groups say. I have always shared when I speak on Sunday, I use the example of, you can have a great affirmation that you want the perfect love in your life, and you can describe them in detail. But if you're not going to do anything, if you're going to sit at home and watch TV, you had better hope the UPS person rings your doorbell. Because otherwise, the chances of you meeting someone are probably small. So in my philosophy that I have taught, it's, treat, which should be like an affirmation, and move your feet. You need to be engaged. I recently signed up to belong to what would be called a network marketing group. And the thing that I liked about them, nobody said to me, oh, you can make, $20,000 a year. It was like, no, here's the plan. Here's the steps. How many hours are you going to put in? And if you put in those hours, you can get here. And then from there, you're going to need to put in more hours, because I think some people sign up for anything like that and they think it's, I'm going to get rich quick. And what they realize is the people that are making money that they want to emulate, they're working. That's their full-time job. So, everything in life, it gets back to taking 100% responsibility, which I think everything does eventually, right? Gets back to taking 100% responsibility. I can sit here and write 60 affirmations every single day, but if I'm going to sit here and that's all I'm going to do, I'm going to get hand cramps and other things.
Hey, I have been doing the affirmation for 10 years now that I have the body of a supermodel, and I'm running a marathon every day, and apparently pasta's not going to get me there. So I have come to the realization that if I want anything in my life, I've got to do the work. So
Absolutely. And that's what all of our guests have done the work, or have done and are doing the work. And so
exactly. One of the things with our guests that we're planning on doing, so we'll go into how this is going to be set up. Our podcast is going to be set up. We are planning on having a guest and doing a podcast once a week. It will launch, and we will be launching on a Wednesday. We had originally said Monday, but we've switched it over to we'll be launching on a Wednesday. That way we're not competing with every other podcast that's out there, because we're unique. And so we are encouraging people to go to our website, and that's pivot2grow.org. So that's pivot2grow.org. And there will be a contact us page. Go ahead and contact us. Let us know what you would like some coaching on. So the first part of our podcast will be Gail and I and our guest will be working together to coach you for about 10 minutes on your question. Then we'll talk to our guest, who they are, what they are doing, how they are tied back into everything. After that, we will go ahead and allow the guest to coach somebody one-on-one using their subspecialty. And boy, do our guests have subspecialties. It could be anything from breath work and how breathing increases oxygen to the brain, and how we're not breathing properly in our lives. I learned this with a seminar I took. I was kind of rolling my eyes when the gentleman was having us breathe. And I am telling you, Gail, by 5 minutes in, I have never been so clear in my entire life. Do I continue to do it? Okay. No.
She said no in case you didn't see her.
But again, I am a work in progress. I am not perfection, guys. But anyways, we'll have our guest doing one-on-one coaching. So every week at the end of our show, we will be introducing some of our lineup coming up, and you can always get in touch with us and let us know which guest resonates with you and who you would like to have some one-on-one coaching with. So that's how that works. And there's more information on our website about Gail and I and our program, our upcoming guests. There will also be any type of notes on there, connections to books or anything else that our guests are talking about. Gail, I know you're a reverend. What else? And you've gone through the coaching with us or with me. Any more about your bio you want to talk about?
I am in recovery. I've been clean and sober since October 19th of 2002. I also, although you are taking the certification program, I have also gone through the essential RIM training and will be using that. I am currently in a coaching program that will get me certified with ICF once I do the coaching hours. So I'm really excited about that. And just as a side note, my house is up for sale, and I'm going to be moving from the King County, Seattle area down to the coast to live on the ocean. So that's exciting. How about you?
I have been a counselor. Oh my gosh, I just lost the term. Boy, talk about having a brain fog. I need to breathe some more. I have been a counselor for many, many, many years. So over 15, 20 years now. Started out my life in gerontology, and that's where I also got into counseling families. My specialty was clients who had behavioral issues and dementia. So counseling came natural to me, and when COVID caused everybody to pivot a little bit, I decided I no longer wanted to work in trade school, secondary education as a counselor. I wanted to do something that was more effective. I wanted to have tools that I could give people that would actually facilitate a change. And that's where the RIM program, we'll be talking about that in one of our sessions, both Gail and I, and maybe we'll be able to get Dr. Deb on, who is the founder of the RIM program. So besides my certification, as you spoke about in RIM, I am finishing up some training in different modalities of coaching. I am also working with nonprofits to assist them in getting up and running. Spoiler alert, people, if you want a nonprofit and you form a nonprofit, just because you get an IRS designation saying you're a nonprofit, that's 3% of the work. You're not ready for grants. So that's where I come in. So that's, just a little bit of my to-do list. And I get to hang out with you once a week. Yay!
I know. I'm very excited about that opportunity for sure. So
yeah, we'll have the coffee and I will have the wine.
Yes. And just so you know, Ilya and I actually met in our Canfield training class, and we have had lunch together one time in person. And other than that, thank you, universe, for living in a time that we have Zoom. So, and that is the other advantage that we can all be grateful for. We've got Zoom, we've got all, Zoom is the market leader now, so everybody refers to Zoom, but there's different platforms out there so we can stay in touch with people that don't live in our towns any longer. So it's an opportunity for us and for our colleagues and for our audience to really come together from all different kinds of places. So I'm excited about that too.
If you had told me the beginning of 2000, before we really, realized COVID was a reality, February, March of 2000, that I would be sitting here today, and I've got clients in Greece and Taiwan and places in the world that I've never even heard of that I have to look up. It's just amazing to me that we are able to come together like we are now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else you want to say, Ms. Gail, before we finish our first session and get ready for our next recording for our next guest?
I am really looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to being with the guests, and I'm looking forward to audience participation. So stay tuned, folks.
All right, everyone, you heard her. We will talk to you next week. Thank you.
The views, information, or opinions expressed on this YouTube channel and podcast are solely the views of the individuals involved and by no means represent absolute facts. Opinions expressed by the host and guests can change at any time. Pivot2Grow does not verify the accuracy of the information contained in the YouTube channel and podcast and is not responsible for this information. Pivot2Grow and its hosts assume no responsibility or liability for any errors or omissions in the content of the YouTube channel and podcast. The information contained on the YouTube channel and podcast is provided on an as-is basis with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness. The information published on this podcast and YouTube channel is for informational purposes only. Any reliance you place on such, you do at your own risk. The information provided is not meant to be a substitute for professional, legal, medical, mental health, or financial advice. If you require professional services, it is your responsibility to seek it out from a licensed attorney, mental health practitioner, physician, or financial services professional. In no way is the information provided meant to be a substitute for medical or psychological advice. This information does not serve to diagnose, treat, or provide a cure for any condition you may be experiencing. Pivot2Grow does not claim to and will not be held responsible for diagnosing, treating, or curing any physical or mental health condition. This podcast and YouTube channel does not take the place of listener's healthcare professional. Under no circumstances should listener stop seeing his or her healthcare professional. If listener decides to take action based on the coaching and advice he or she receives from Pivot2Grow or a guest on Pivot2Grow, listener does so at his or her own risk.